What's up, peeps? So in this episode, I'm speaking to my new friend, Christie Lee Manning. Christie Lee Manning is, well, she's an all-rounder. She's a dancer. She's a teacher. She's a choreographer. We find out in this episode that she also writes shows. Well, I guess she doesn't direct them yet, but she will. She's just a wonderful human. She's very, very inspiring. She has a company called House of Jazz. You should go and check them out on Instagram. I believe they train or are based in London. So if you want to go get your jazz training on, go and check it out. And she also has a podcast called Inside Out. Now, there's a lot of podcasts on Spotify and Apple called Inside Out. So I recommend you search Inside Out and then just put Christie, like I did. And then you will find it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We go deep and we kind of uncover lots of things that we've both self-discovered about ourselves. Does that make sense? Self-discovered about ourselves. We'll go with it on our journey. And she's a very, very inspiring lady. So I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe, follow her on Instagram, and leave us a 5-star review if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. And make sure you tell everyone we're really cool. 3, 2, 1. Hello, friend. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm good. What time is it in Canada?
8:01, babe.
8:01. You dedicated to me at 8 a.m.
I did, yeah.
You are truly incredible.
Thanks, dude. You're worth it. You're so worth it. No brainer.
L'Oreal, I'm worth it. 8 a.m.
Yeah.
So what time did you get up?
I woke up at 5.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
What's your routine been? I bet you've done yoga or some shit like that, right? Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's my Canadian routine. My husband leaves for work at about 5 a.m. So
are we
okay? Did we delay?
We had a glitch, but we're back. So what did you say your morning consisted of?
Well, the hubby gets up and goes to work at 5 a.m. And so I lounge and I make some coffee and then I get onto the yoga mat at about 6 o'clock.
Nice. And do you do do you follow like lessons online or like a class, or do you just freestyle?
I do a bit of both. There's a girl named Cassandra that's really good.
Hey, I do Cassandra too.
Do you?
Yes.
That's amazing.
I do.
That's cool.
We've got the same yoga teacher.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She is. You're probably a much more loyal student than I am.
I mean, I flip flop. I'm trying to do. She's got like the 30 days in the morning and 30 days in the evening.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm working through that. Yeah.
Nice. I started doing it in the first lockdown. Me and the fiance, we were
brilliant.
like, let's do it. And I like them because they're like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like
right?
it's not like an hour of my
size.
day. It's like just get a little bit. And then the relaxation ones are really nice in the evening, where it's just like lay on your back with your legs in the air. I'm like, lovely.
Yeah. No problem. No problem.
While sipping gin on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. Just a straw.
As you do. How's it being back home in Canada?
It's good. It's a winter wonderland. I'm back with my dog, which is really wonderful. His name is Marvel.
Marvel, named after Marvel.
Yeah, he named by the 14-year-old, but you know, it was either that or something from Harry Potter. So I think we chose wisely.
Yeah, I was listening to your podcast last night. I didn't realize how much of a Harry Potter nut you were.
Yeah, I really am. It's all Lucas McFarlane's fault, to be honest.
Really? Why?
Yeah. Well, because I moved here and I hadn't read them, and I became his friend and was taking classes, and then he's a Harry Potter nerd, and he was like, you have to read all the books, and he gave me the entire set, I think, and he's like, just get through the first one. It's a kid book, but it's all good, like just get through the first one. And by book 3 I was like crying at work. I was emotionally invested. I'm like, Sirius Black is in the castle. What's going to happen? Like, and you can't relive reading those for the first time ever again. So I had so many people living vicariously through me. They're like, oh, we can't relive reading those for the first time ever again. This is so fun. But yeah.
So were you a fan before reading it? Did you like watching it?
I hadn't seen anything.
Okay.
It just wasn't.
I've only ever watched it, and it's not for me.
Yeah, fine.
You got to read the books.
Yeah,
it's like a different ballgame.
But I can barely read an Instagram post. Like I can't read a book. Like I can barely get through a caption. Like let alone 5 books or whatever there is.
Yeah.
I've never been into that whole Harry Potter thing.
There's a lot.
It's a lot, and I was always used to get called Ron.
Yeah,
Not always, but
it
quite a
is.
bit called Ron Weasley. So I was always a bit like, fuck Harry Potter.
I mean, yeah, it's a commitment. It's a commitment. I kind of feel the same way about this is I don't know if this is gonna get many fans, but Lord of the Rings. I'm like, I
Oh,
don't get it.
see, that's funny.
know.
I actually prefer Lord of the Rings than Harry Potter.
See, and I feel like people either like one or the other.
I feel like it's more grown up.
Yeah, and I'm not.
And my party trick is I can do the best impression. I'm not saying the best. I can do a very good impression of Gollum. So I feel like that's also
Can
another
you?
reason I like it. Yeah,
Is that a special skill on your CV?
it is actually.
It should be.
It should be, and it is. And I can also look like him as well if I'm really hungover.
Whoa, that skill. See, full
Skills.
commitment.
Full
Yeah.
commitment. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, I kind of do.
Okay. Only because Jake's doing this behind the camera going, do it, do it, do it.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm about to move this away. It's loud.
My precious, Smeagol loves master. Stop it now, you stupid thing. It's mine. It's all mine.
Right?
Color me impressed.
Oh my God.
Right?
That's so good.
I know. And they stopped Lord of the Rings the musical. I was devastated. People's legs are getting chopped off and shit. Otherwise, I think I'd have been in.
Yeah. Dude,
I know. I think that could have
that's
been my
so good.
that could have been my musical debut.
It really could have.
I know it's gone now, and it's never gonna happen. So sad
Man,
times.
you've never done a musical, have you?
Oh no,
No.
no
Do you want to?
pantomime.
Okay, yeah.
Do I want to? If they paid more,
Yeah.
you know, like
Mhm.
musicals are a tough gig because I'm like, you do 10 shows a week and walk away with like £600. It's like
It's rough, right?
It's like a few days teaching. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. All these
Yeah.
thousands of people are paying to watch me, but I'm not getting any money.
I know.
and I have to live in the
It's
big
mad.
city. It's a
Yeah.
strange one, but I do feel like, you know, maybe me at 22 would have loved it, but me
Yeah.
me at 31.
Yeah.
Have you ever done a musical?
No, I've had a weird career. I love it. But I don't sing. So
You mime?
yes.
Yeah, well, you know,
100%.
Britney doesn't sing either. She's still
I mean,
Britney.
I
Like
know.
we can
And we love her.
and we love her. Free Britney.
And we
She's
love
free.
her.
We freed
She's
her.
free.
We freed
Yeah.
her.
We totally did.
Yeah. So yeah,
Um,
but I know loads of people in musicals that can't really sing, that are ensemble.
Yeah, I know. I remember moving here and I was like, I took a couple of classes at Pineapple. This was, when did I move here? 8 years ago. And mind you, okay, how do I speak with integrity? I took
Just
I
speak.
I took a few classes at Pineapple. I was 0 for 2. And that's when a friend of mine back home, because Luke is Canadian, was like, you should take Lucas's class. I was like, oh, okay. And then I took that one. I was like, third time's charm, fine. But the first couple I took, I was like, wow, okay. So
The standard here,
we-
the standard here at Pineapple wasn't too fantastic.
no, it's just really hit and miss depending on what class you're taking.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, you know, we're doing like double pirouettes across the floor and half the people can't do it. And I was like, what's going on? But then I went to my first audition and I was like, oh, dang, every single bitch here can sing. Probably shouldn't swear, should
really?
I? But yeah, everyone, like you guys, the musical theater scene, like every single person can sing so well. I just remember being blown away with how well everybody and how confident everybody was. Because I don't know, growing up in Canada, I mean, if you're in Toronto, then you have Randolph, you have Stratford, you have more of a musical theater scene. Vancouver's a lot more commercial or contemporary based. And then there was just me, the Jazz Arena, kind of running around trying to
The
figure out what she wanted.
The jazz arena.
The jazz arena doing like
That's so good.
sparkle jumps and jazz
Running.
runs everywhere.
Nice, like you're in fame. Like
Exactly. Just like beveling everywhere and not understanding why, no one else was the same as me. But and it never occurred to me to really learn how to sing it or even consider a career in musical theater. I never put the two and two together. I had people telling me my whole life, like, you should be a rockette. And I was like, oh, cool. What's that? And then I went to New York and I was like, oh, I see. Or like go to Vegas and be a showgirl. And I've kind of spent my entire career fighting against my typecast because it's not anything I ever wanted to do. I didn't,
Yeah. So okay. So what did you want to do? Like, take me from the beginning. Like, why did you dance? Why did you want to be a dancer? Like, what was the draw?
Well, my mom put me in ballet when I think I was 3 years old because I used to walk around the house on my tippy toes.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also, do cute little break dances in the middle of grocery stores. She'd be shopping. Yeah, I know. Just, before I was all limbs, like legs with boobs on top. It's literally what I am. I don't have a waist, Kane. Next time we see each other, I don't have a waist. I just have
that's funny because you're so tall and I'm so short. I feel like I'm constantly looking at your waist. So
fair. Christie's belly button. Having a conversation with Christie's belly button. But yeah, no, I would break dance in stores and she would continue shopping and be like, "Where's my child?" And then she'd find me down in aisle 4 by the cereal, just like
doing bum spins.
Yeah, exactly. So I always loved to dance. I loved dancing. I took, the usual kind of Canadian style is you take ballet and jazz. And then, if your parents have the funds and you have the time, then they can put you in tap as well. Those are your staples. And then, I'm so old that contemporary was becoming a thing only when I was graduating. When I was like 18 years old, graduating from high school in my home studio. But you grow up and you do like the jazz group and the jazz solo and the lyrical group and the lyrical solo and all that stuff. So I was a competition kid. But I remember telling my dad, I told him when I was 10 years old, I was like, I want to be an actress. And he said, oh, that's hard. And I think it took me till I was in my late 20s to realize that I had actually heard, that's too hard, you can't do that. And I didn't realize that. So I was like, oh, I'll just keep dancing instead because that's easier.
That's easier. No, it's not.
Whoa. Right? That was the mistake. And so that's, I've always, I've never been able to do one without the other. I love to dance and I will always love to dance, but it's not enough for me. And the most of the things that I've done just aren't artistically as satisfying as I ever thought they would be. It's kind of like, people have dreams of being on the West End and then they get onto the West End and they're like, this is all I've ever wanted. Why am I not happier? I'm like, well,
yeah.
It's not the thing that makes you happy. It's the feeling that you think you're going to get from doing the thing that makes you happy.
Which is interesting because the times I've had that feeling that makes me happy is always doing the jobs that I didn't expect it to be. And it was never doing the ones which I was like, that's going to be the life-changing moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I remember being like, I'm going to book this job and I'm going to be the working dancer and then doing it and being like, this is cool. This is cool.
Right.
And then it full stop. And then doing pantomime, the thing I was like, that's going to be trash. I'm just going to do it for fun and for some money and to be with my friend. And I was like, this is the best. Like,
that's so cool, man.
It's just weird, right? Like go from dancing for like Justin Bieber to doing a pantomime in Stoke, but the pantomime in Stoke was way more fulfilling. But actually,
isn't that mad?
Yeah. Like if you put it on the how society rates them, they're nowhere near. They're not even near each other. They're not in the same realm.
And this is why one thing that I've been speaking about a lot to other people is it scares me how much a lot of people in our industry are chasing other people's definitions of success, and everybody's so unfulfilled and so unhappy. And I'm like, it's because you want the thing that everyone else thinks they want, but you don't want that. It takes such a brave person to not only want, but to actually chase things that other people don't view as success, but to them, it's success.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
No, I
Yeah.
agree. Like, what was it like? What was your definition of success growing up? Like, what did it mean to be a successful dancer, say, or person? Like, because I
Yeah.
feel like we never put two and two together. I think we forget that we're people sometimes.
Yes, 100%. Oh, truer words have never been spoken. Well, as a kid, and a teenager, young adult, it definitely was all outside and stuff. It was all, I had lists of things on my wall of things that I wanted to do, like book a cruise ship, work for Disney, all these things, and be in Chicago and all this stuff. And I remember having a conversation with my mom once, and she looked at me with almost pity, dude. And I remember being like, "What was that look, Mom?" And she was like, "Oh, it's nothing, it's nothing, it's nothing." I'm like, "No, what were you just thinking?" And she looked at me and she was like, "I'm just really worried that it's never going to be enough. No
Wow.
matter how much you do, it's never going to be enough." And I was like, "Whoa, okay." And I remember it was so sincere, and from, you know, the person that you love most in the world. Like, it was a necessary dagger to the heart.
It was done out of love.
It was, yes, 100%. And so now my definition of success is, my definition of success now is, I think I can sum it up in regards to just beating resistance. Because I said to my best friend last night, I said, anything I do that isn't the thing or the things, 'cause I have a hard time choosing just one thing, which will be a battle for the rest of my life as well. But anything that I do that isn't the thing or the things that I want to do, which is acting and dancing, educating, creating, is now just excruciating and makes me feel like a failure.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, because she's like, you're so busy, you're doing so many things. I'm like, but it's not about what I'm doing. It's the fact that I'm keeping myself busy to not do the one or two things that are actually really important to me. And that is the definition of failure, because I'm letting resistance beat me. I'm not showing up.
Yeah.
Is that getting too deep, too quick?
No,
it's
not at
8:17.
No. Only for you. You're lucky I haven't had 3 gins by now.
Yeah, that's true.
Only because I've got to drive home.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. So do you feel like you've achieved success? I feel like success is like, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's a forever moving thing, right? Because like our goals change constantly. Like I remember once upon a time, success to me was getting into Dance to Excess, and then it was moving to London, and then it was booking a job, and then it was getting picked out in a class, even though I've already been booked a job, which essentially is a step backwards. Like, and now it's like a forever changing thing. Like my successes as an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old are so different to me as a 31-year-old. Like if you'd said to me at 21, like your goal is going to be to get as many people to want to learn from you as possible, I'd have said, fuck off. I just want to go on stage in front of as many people as I can. And now it's the complete flip. Now it's, I want to teach people and educate people. The stage is like a nice thing if it comes along, but it's not the I'm not chasing it. You know what I mean? Like, but do you feel like you've reached your successes?
Can I say yes and no?
Yeah, of course.
I will. Let's see. I think so. I heard this quote, and I know you all have heard it too, and it's really fucked with my head in the best way. And it's, the definition of hell is when you meet the person you could have been.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Messed up.
I think
Messed
about that
up.
all the time, but yeah, go on.
Yeah. And so I remember it's been playing back in my head a lot, because I do think I'm successful because I am still here, and I'm still trying, and I'm still working, and I'm still showing up. It's hard for me. My ego has always been very loud, and one of the reasons why I created Inside Out is because of all I've learned from always looking externally for, you know, fulfillment and happiness and all those things. And I think the thing that I've learned is I ask people this all the time. I'm like, what's worse? You trying to achieve something, whatever that is, your entire life, and maybe by your own definition, failing, okay? Or not trying at all, so you can't fail. And like I kind of said before, that to me would be failure. So I have a hard time feeling like I'm successful, but if I look at my definition of success, I am successful because I'm still showing up every single day. So that's all I have to do. So I guess yes.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like I believe if you don't try, you don't know. And I listened to your episode last night where you were saying like you hate the word try. Like, let's not say I'm trying to. Let's say I'm doing it instead of trying it. But I'd rather you try than not do or not try. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
Rather than do nothing, trying is better than it. But just doing it and seeing what happens, that's the win. Like, kind of like you said in the episode. But I feel like if you don't, quote unquote, try, you'll never know. Whereas for me, like, you know, let's say I went to LA and I wanted to be successful and I did it for just under 3 years. And did I achieve everything I ever wanted to out there? No. Did I book a movie? No. Did I book my dream tour? No. All the things I went there for? No. But did I do things that I'd never done before? Yes. Did I learn about me? Yes. Did I make lots of new friends? Some. But like, to me, they're all successes, like within their own right. Do you know what I mean? It might not be the overall picture of success of what I painted in my head. But if I look back at it, did I fail? No. So if I didn't fail, then I succeeded, because there's nothing which is in between. Because to me, if you're not moving forward, then you're going backwards. So to me, going backwards means failing. Even if it's stagnant, that means failing. So like baby steps forwards are still steps forward. So that's a step towards success, right? So
absolutely. And how funny is it too that I think like I'm listening to you speak and I'm like, you know what? People say, are you successful? And I immediately looked outwards at my life. And then I thought about it. I was like, hold on a second. I'm listening to you speak. I'm like, hold on. It was when you said, you know, I learned a lot about myself. And I thought my biggest success, and I've said this before, is who not necessarily who I've become, but who I've almost re-become, in the sense that I don't know if anyone's asked you this would be a fun question, but somebody asked me, or told me rather, pay attention to what makes you feel the most sad in the whole world. Because that has something to do with, you know, what you feel like. I struggle with this word as well, but that could be a whole other conversation. Your purpose in life, you know, things like that. I know we could have a whole conversation about just that word, but the saddest thing for me is seeing people as products of who they've been taught they are instead of who they actually were when they were born. And if you asked me if I'm successful based on who I've become, I would say yes, massively, because who I was and then who I became as a result of my environment and what I've now shed to get back to the person I was born to be. Like, people have no idea what kind of self growth I've done to be able to even just come here and speak to you with any sort of confidence. And if I focus on that, like, I'm massively successful. Somebody give me a fucking Oscar for that, you know? And that's the thing that I'm the most proud of. I've never cared about the resume. The world's made me feel like I need to care, but I've never cared. I've always just wanted to see how much I could get out of me.
That's interesting, because I've really cared about the resume.
Did
Like,
you?
yeah, like hugely. Because in my head, well, like when I first wanted to be a dancer, like, I just danced because I wanted to be Justin Timberlake, but I can't sing, so that didn't happen. And then it was just like I saw a guy judging me at a competition called Glenn Ball, and I was like, I want to be him. Like, what does he do? That looks like a
Mm.
fun life. I don't want to be a school teacher, or I don't want to be a PE teacher, or I don't want to be a bin man. Like, I want to do what he does. His job is to go and dance. Like, how do I do that? Oh, he dances for singers. That's how you make money dancing. Like, I knew you could be a dance teacher, but I was like, what's in my head at the time, the level up from that? Oh, it's going and dancing for artists. Do you know what I mean? So a huge focal point of my life and my career and my training was never to be the best dancer I could be. It was never to be the best artist I could be. It was to get on those jobs so I could make money, so I could say, this is how I survive. Do you know what I mean? And in that instance, I've succeeded. I'm successful. I had a great 10 years of doing it for artists and stuff like that, Whereas now, like I said, my goal has changed.
That's so cool. I feel like I wonder how you being brought up influenced that, because I know that I know the reason I never cared too much about the CV or the resume was because I just so desperately wanted to be actually talented, because I was always hardworking, and I was always the one that cared, and I was always, determined, and I was always like the one with potential, but I never was told I was talented.
And that's funny because I do feel like mine was like I was always told in college, I was told that I was the one who loved dance the most, but I won't make it. You know what I mean? And then I was told by like another big influence in my life, and I'm so grateful for him. Like we still speak all the time. He's like a huge part of my life, and I would never be where I am without him, because he did support me. But I'll never forget him saying like, you'd make a really good dance teacher, and me going, yeah, but I want to be a performer. And he offered me like a whole business plan at the age of like 19. And he was like, you can take on my company. You can do this. You can do all this. Like, being a commercial dancer is not just about how you dance, and which we've spoke about this before, is how you look. And like, unless you look like that specific look, you're not going to make it. And I remember being like, well, watch me be that look. Like, watch me figure it out. Because I was a short, fat, chubby ginger kid. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, cool. How do I become looking the nearest to that? So maybe without even knowing, for my whole career, and I kind of figured this out a few years ago, all those people going that you don't look right to be it is why I was so determined to maybe succeed and dance for those artists. Like I've had a six pack since the age of 21, and it's never gone away, because I don't let it, because I'll never let myself not be ready, or not be the person, or have the thing that was against me at the age of 18. Like, it's weird how maybe that those two conversations have gone and cemented in my brain, and that's been how my actions have got me where I am.
Yeah. That's so cool. It's fascinating. Have you watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan?
Oh yes.
Mate.
Isn't it the best thing ever?
I live on that shit. Oh my God. It's so motivating. I turn off one episode of that. I'm like, I'm going to conquer the world.
Okay, so how did it make you feel watching it?
It made me, what, the show?
Yeah.
It made me feel, well, I mean, I was just like massively inspired, and so much, there's so much that resonated. There was a lot of, I don't know, I had sympathy, or empathy, for, how determined he was, and how hard he wanted to work, and how much he wanted to push his teammates. I think the thing that really hit me the most was at the end, and when he gets, well, not to spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen it, but if you haven't seen it.
But also, it's been out for a year and a half, so
yeah,
sort yourself out. Go
it's your fault.
Yeah.
But I remember feeling sad for him that he didn't feel finished. That really got to me, man. That like pulled at my heartstrings at the end. I was like, oh, you're not done.
Yeah.
You're not done. You want to keep going.
Yeah, for me, it was like an emotional roller coaster, because I remember watching it, like getting 3 episodes in and going, I don't work hard enough. Like I remember going to
Oh,
myself,
yeah.
like, you need us, like, if you want this, like, pull it out, like, pull your finger out and get going. Like all those times where you just chill and watch fucking Netflix, like you're watching this, you could be like putting in more effort to get where you want to. But then I was also
Mhm.
like, isn't it sad that all the people around him don't like him? Isn't it sad that all the people around him, they're not actually his friend? Or they all like say that he's a shit
Mhm.
person, or like they're meant to be his teammates. And to me, like I have a very small team, like, but like my new
Mhm.
teammate, like we genuinely the word team and the word mate. You know what I mean? Whereas I remember watching it thinking they're not teammates, they're just
Mhm.
his team. Like there's no mate there. They don't really have each other's back.
Yeah.
And that was quite sad to me, because a huge part of our industry, I believe, is social. Like
Yeah.
that's like when I think about all the favorite jobs or favorite moments, they're never necessarily the job, is the people.
Mhm.
Like even the
Massively.
weekend that we judged, like, was it the best competition? No, to be honest, it was pretty tragic. Like, but I actually had the best weekend because it was such a great bunch of people,
It was so much fun. We
you
had so
know?
much fun. Yeah.
So I'm now like, so then I watch it and I go, oh, do I want to be Michael Jordan? Like, do I want to not have the mate aspect? Because I'm so driven that I'm willing to just push everything out the way. Because I was
I
like that
know.
I was like that as a human. Like I broke up with girlfriends to succeed. I didn't have a relationship with my family to succeed. Like I moved to LA. I left everyone and everything I love to succeed. And obviously it's not in a selfish way, as in like I don't care, but no one else's feelings were ever thought about. You know what I mean? And then
Mhm.
like it's about finding the balance, because then obviously I lost my brother at 25, and then I was like, fuck, I haven't spoken to my brother for 3 years, like because I was
Mm.
so focused on this I have to achieve, and I lost, I guess that would be the mate aspect of the teammate. Like I didn't have a family, I didn't have a humanity, I didn't have a human side to my life. I was just that driven, blinkered, must achieve tours and goals and CV resume. So I feel like I had a bit of that Michael Jordan-esque. But until you figure out the other side, you just, when you go, I need to be a human too.
Mm.
And now the human side is way more fulfilling to me.
Mhm. Oh, this is so fascinating. I resonate so much with what you're saying because I, because of all the things that I was taught, I spent most of my life being a people pleaser, as a
Mm.
lot of us are. And I remember being in London a couple years and going, you know, I just had a moment where I was like, I'm fucking miserable. And I had so many people around me that I thought were my friends that really just, I've been told my whole life that I'm, a bright light and I give a lot of energy and, I'm so fun to hang around. And I never, Kane, it's unbelievable how naive I am in regards to, or have been in regards to people doing things for ulterior motives. Like I think I get it from my mom. Like we see the world through rose colored glasses. And one of the most powerful things she's taught me recently was, as she grows as well, she was like, Christie, when people teach you who they are, believe them.
Mm.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. Rose colored glasses off. But so I had to fight through that because I spent so much time, and you don't do anything without a payoff. Like you don't do any sort of self-sabotage without a payoff.
Mm.
So I'm hanging out with all these people, I'm giving them all my time and all my energy. But I'm going home at the end of the day and I'm like, well, at least I'm liked, right? Subconsciously, at least people like me and I'm liked. But is it worth it? Because I'm so unhappy. So no. So then that had to change, and I knew there had to be a big shift in regards to the people that I was spending time with, and the amount of people I was spending time with, in order to be able to do what I wanted to do. So that was a scary moment, losing a lot of relationships in order to prioritize myself,
Mm.
because that shedding of skin is again another conversation and scary to do. But I feel the exact same way because there's so much I want to do. There's so much I want to do, not just as an artist and in a career, but just in life.
Mm.
I've always had such a huge passion for life. When people are like, I'm bored. I'm like, how can you be bored?
The-
There are so many films.
My-
There are
my-
so many books.
My mum
Like-
used to teach me when I was little, and this is my mum is the most amazing human on earth. She's my best friend. And I used to say to her when I was little, I'd be like, Mum, I'm bored. And she'd go to me, only boring people get bored. And I'd be like, wow.
I'm putting
you
that
know,
on a t-shirt. It's going on a
Right?
shirt.
Only boring
Yes.
people get bored. So good. So now whenever someone goes to me, I'm bored, I'm like, well, then go and be fun.
Oh my God, that's so good.
And I can't
That's
tell
so
you
good.
my time as an adult where I've been bored. I can. I
Mm.
took on a job a few months ago and it made me really bored and really miserable. So I stopped. Like,
Yeah.
because I was bored. I was like, oh, I'm not
Yeah.
here for this life. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Like boring
Yeah.
boring isn't going to be a part of my structure.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's really good. Yeah. I resonate a lot with what you're saying in regards to the people, the human aspect being more important too. I think for me, because I really empathize with a lot of Michael Jordan's kind of determination, and I demand and want and think I can do a lot from myself. But I think the circle needed to shrink for me to be able to, I think where I'm at in my life is I've spent more than half of it, like now I guess 3/4 of it, trying to please everybody else, and I needed to give permission to not have to do that. And because of that, relationships have lost, but I've been able to dedicate. I love working. And it's something that I never wanted to. I tried to do everything, and I tried to be the friend that everybody needed. But I remember realizing what friendship meant to me, and me being your best friend, like not your best friend, but me being, let me word that differently. Me
Best
being
friend
the
you
best,
can be.
yes,
Yeah.
is me leading by example.
Yes.
Going, hey, I'm gonna unapologetically dedicate all my time to my shit.
Yeah.
And I want you to feel like you can do the same thing. Like my favorite people are fellow, like I call them wolves. I'm like the wolf pack, right? I'm like, hey, you're too busy to, like you, like it's like, we get to collaborate and we get to, create magic together, and we get to have epic conversations. And then you're gonna go off and, continue to do that, and I'm going to applaud you from like near or far, and then I'm going to do the same thing, and then the next time we see each other it's going to be phenomenal. But I don't need to give people my time to show them that I love them. I feel like there's other things that I could do that are more powerful. Family is a bit hard though. I have so much guilt living on the other side of the world sometimes, because all my family's here.
Oh, I feel you. I feel you. Even I live like an hour and a bit from mine, and I have so much guilt that I'm like, I should see them every week, and I probably see them once a month.
Yeah.
And you think I'd have learned my lesson after what I've been through, but even still, then I go, but I'm just gonna come home, spend loads of time with my family, and be bored and be unsatisfied and not be able to chase my dreams or chase my goals. And you don't want to see me like that. I don't want to see me like that. I'm not doing anyone a favor by being that person who's just going to be like, I'm just going to sit at home on the sofa all day and spend time with my nan. Like, I love my nan. She wants me to do everything. Like, she wants me to feel fulfilled. So if that's not going to fulfill me, then it's doing neither of us a favor.
Exactly. I think the world suffers as much as we suffer. If you're built with such a sensational hunger for life the way we are, I think it is a shame and a loss to not completely not only acknowledge that, but accept it and follow through with it.
Are there any people in your life that like they don't even need to be in your life, or people that you just see that you really like inspire you or like affect you in a way? Or even if you see them and be like, I like what they do, but I don't want to be that fully or solely.
I mean, it's anybody that has I'm really inspired by people that
I'm
he's
still here.
black. Okay.
She's back.
She's back. I'm really inspired by people that, this is a great question. I want to say the first words in my head are want more, but I don't know if that's totally right, but it's something they dare to chase the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really, really cool, because our brain is always going to default tell us when we have an idea, it's always going to give us a complete list of all the things that could go wrong. And I always try and be grateful for that, because I'm like, okay, you're doing your job. The mind is there to help us survive and be safe. Fine. Thank you so much. But what it doesn't do is give you the other side of the coin, which is here's all the things that could go right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Yeah.
so I'm inspired by people that dare to chase the unknown. So you didn't know that the podcast would work, but you did it anyway. I think that's incredible. Raffaello Cavino from Applause for Thought, I think, is doing incredible things. She inspires me massively. I have so many friends that are, writing films, writing scripts, writing shows. Anyone that's just doing the work. My friend Lauren that lives down the street. But then to people, like Michael Jordan and Tom Bilyeu and yeah.
Because what I've started doing, the older I've got, like growing up, all my inspirations were dance. Like I want to be this dancer or this dancer or this dancer. And the older I've got, dances that I still very much appreciate, like, the dancers that inspire me, like all the people that have taught me. I'm still very much inspired by them. But now I feel like I gravitate towards people who kind of, like you said, take things into their own hands, or like take a gamble and achieve. Like there's a guy called Brendan Schaub who's an ex-UFC fighter, and he was good. He wasn't fantastic. And I kind of put myself, he's like my spirit animal. Like he was in the top 10 in the UFC in the world of fighting, but he was never the greatest. And I feel like, I'd had a very, very successful career, but I was never the greatest. Like, and I was like, he took a gamble and then he went and became a comedian. And then he started his own podcast, and now he's got his own network. And it's kind of like, I feel like that inspires me, that you actually took the gamble and left the thing that you were great at to try and now you've succeeded in something else. And I'm like, that's me, or that's what I'm trying to not be him, but like I'm trying to do that journey where I can take my passion and my love for dance, but like transfer it and use all those skills and my knowledge and information in another realm. So I find like spirit animals, like, or like influences like that. And then I look at like the super successful, like The Rock, and I go, wow, like, is there a more hardworking, successful human on earth? Like, he was an American footballer who then became a wrestler, who then became the most highest paid actor in the world. But then I also go, bet he's a shit dad though. Bet he's a shit husband. How often does he get to play with his kids? Does he drop them off and pick them up from school? Like, so then it's like, oh, I don't want that. So it's like, life is, when I'm looking for inspirations, I'm always like, I want to take his work ethic. Oh, but I don't want that bit. Because when I got a kid, I want to make sure I drop it off and pick it up from school. Like, I want to make sure that I can read it a book at night. Like, all those things. Although I can't read, but we'll both listen to a podcast together. Like,
there you go. Audiobooks, fine. It's fine.
Audiobooks.
Same
But do you know what I
thing.
mean? Like, so when I chase inspiration, or when it finds me, it's not actually very much dance based anymore. Even though I'm still trying to use it in my dance realm, kind of where I'm at.
Totally. I'm the same. I think for us, it's you can tell me if this sounds right to you, but I think we are really inspired by self-made people. And I think that I'm inspired by that, because not only does it give me permission to keep trying and keep going, but it makes it feel possible.
Yeah. So when you say that, kind of picking up on what you said earlier, like when you think about the things that could go right and things that could go wrong, how often do you think about the things that could go wrong?
Dangerously, consciously, probably not a lot. Subconsciously, probably two. Nah, there's not two. Don't say that, Christie. Subconsciously, probably quite a bit, and I will know that based on any given day, based on how much, again, I'm beating resistance or not. So if I'm thinking things are impossible, I'm not starting, is what happens.
Yeah.
If I'm not starting, that's when I know.
because
Yeah.
I never ever think of what could go wrong. It doesn't
That's
even
great.
it doesn't even cross my well, tell my fiance that, she'll disagree. But like, hence I break everything or I do everything wrong and I have to do it 7 times. And I'm like, but me doing it 7 times is the same amount of time it could take someone who's overthinking to do it once. So I might get lucky and get it right the first time and then I'm winning. But if I've got to do it 7 times and it takes as much time as you thought to do it once, like that's how my brain works. And I know it's not optimal and it's not perfect, but it's where I function best. It's just like on the rapid. Like, and if it fucks up, I'll
Yeah.
figure it out. But like, I never ever think of the consequences. Like, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I just see the best in any opportunity. Like, nothing is impossible. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
just where my brain's at, and I feel like that's a big part of why I've been quote unquote successful, because I'm not afraid to fail, because
Yeah.
I don't know what the failure will be. You know what I mean? I don't think
Yeah.
about, like, when you go to like auditions, did you ever think about what if I don't get this? I've never thought about what if I don't get an audition ever.
Mm.
A lot of the time
Yeah.
it's because I got them, but like,
Yeah.
you know, but again, and if I didn't, I'd just go, okay, well, why didn't I? Instead of thinking about it beforehand, I just go, well, why didn't I
Yeah.
get this? Okay, that's a learning curve. Figure it out.
Mm.
Use that
Mm.
now. Don't dwell on it. Just use it. Because I feel like if I dwell on it, that's going to then put in my brain that, oh, I have to think about what happens when shit doesn't go to plan. You know, then that becomes a habit. Whereas I don't want that habit. I just want to go, I'm going to go for it and give it my all in the most smart
Yeah.
way I can, but fearlessly, you know, relentlessly.
Yeah. And that's brilliant. And that's such a gift. And I feel like you have been void of that kind of form of fear of rejection. Like when people pre-plan the bad, especially in an audition setting, it's because they're so deathly afraid of rejection that they're, you know, pre-planning what's going to happen and how they're going to, you know, deal with that feeling when before it's even happened. Because but the thing is, man, they are afraid of rejection, but it's never the thing. It's the thing it's what the thing means that is so excruciating. So it's not that you were rejected, it's the fact that if you're rejected, it means that you're not good enough, which means you're not going to make it, which means you failed, which means you should stop trying because you look like an idiot in the first place for even thinking that you could make it. Like this is how dancers' psyches work. And I've realized, I was like, hey, entertain this for a second. Can you imagine if no one had ever been taught on some level at some point in their life that they weren't good enough? Okay, a lot of people have this belief. If they hadn't been taught that and they went to an audition and they got cut, the most that they would think and feel when they left the audition was like, oh, that's a shame, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh my God, I'm an idiot, I'm a failure, I can't even get this job, blah, 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 blah. Like just the spiral that comes after that. It's the same as relationships. If no woman had ever been taught, you know, you're not lovable, if any man broke up with them, they'd be like, oh, that's a shame, I'm really going to miss spending time with them. Sure, there might be 3 to 6 months of you know, like missing having the person around, but it's the years and the baggage and the therapy. It's not because of the person, it's because of the shit that you believed before you even got in that relationship in the first place.
Yeah.
How simple would life be if we didn't have this extra crap?
No, it would.
Is that, oh, he's frozen.
No, I'm here. Am I still here?
Right?
Yeah. I
Okay.
agree.
You're good.
I'm back. I don't think my brain never thinks about any of those things. Like it just doesn't. Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
phenomenal.
you're still there. I didn't know if you'd frozen then. You're like,
Yeah.
you're in.
That's amazing.
So what's your goal now? Like, what are you trying to achieve now currently? What are you seeking?
I think myself is, I split Christie into 3. She's an educator, she's a creative, and she's a performer. And educator Christie is pretty fulfilled. I'm very lucky to have created the House of Jazz community that I've been able to build with, you know, the help of James Harris and so many other people and everyone that makes up the community. We wouldn't have what we have without the people in it. And they've ruined teaching for me because they're so hungry and they're so invested that I teach anywhere else. And I'm like, where's your work ethic, guys? What's wrong with you? You know,
Yeah.
they're so good. And then having, you know, just this side project of having Inside Out podcast being my way of being able to, you know, word vomit to the world. And I've always said that my favorite thing to do is learn, and my second favorite thing to do is share what I've learned. And so that's my way of being able to when I learn something, I'm like, I can tell everybody. Creatively, Christie's not allowed to write any more shows. This is the rule for 2022. She's got 3 shows that she's written, and actually 4, and she's not allowed to write another one. She has to concentrate on selling the shows that she has, because I've spent my life savings investing in these projects, and I want to see them, you know, reach their fullest potential, which is the focus for 2022.
When you say shows, do you mean like a theater show or a TV show or
all theater?
Mhm.
So I have Uncorked Theater, which is immersive theater, and then I have Jazz House Theater, which is more traditional, like jazz theater musicals without singing. Obviously, you
obviously,
know.
so you can slot right in there.
I'm trying to make a point. And so yeah, those each company has 2 productions that have all been self-funded up until this point. And yeah, the goal will be to see those reach their fullest potential, which I think would be really cool. But I think the biggest goal for me is committing wholeheartely and fully to acting. I will never not be able to dance. If I don't dance for a week, I get really grumpy. So the lockdowns were interesting. And it'll always be a massive part of me, but I know I said when I was 10 I wanted to be an actress, and if I keep that quote in the back of my head and I don't give it my fullest shot, I will have no one but to blame but myself, and that is not an option.
I guess the great thing about wanting to be an actress is that there's kind of no time limit on it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not like you're, and I don't want to say this, but like you're not pressed for time. It's not like a dancer. It's not like, you know, if 35 you haven't kind of achieved anything. It's kind of like, oh, it's only going to get worse options from here unless you're really fortunate. But on the grand scheme of it, your chances are going down. Whereas I guess with acting, like it can happen whenever. Like there are so many actors that made it in their like 40s, in their 50s, like really late on, you know. So I feel like in the scheme of acting world, you're still in your youth. You're still so early. You're still in your baby phases. So that's, I guess, one of the pros about wanting to pursue that kind of line of work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, there's no time limit to that, which is really cool. And the more you know yourself and learn about yourself, the better I think an actor that you are. So that's really exciting. I have so much I want to see and experiment with myself as an actor, but also just acting and performing in theater in general, which is why creative and performing are more the focus for this year. Because again, trying to speak with integrity, I've seen too much. I don't know how you feel about this, but too much of theater that I'm seeing nowadays is about the wow factor. And so much of the performance is just be able to do everything well enough. But I'm leaving theaters, man, and I'm like, I don't feel anything, and I should feel something. I'm concerned about the level of mediocrity.
So I agree. There are some shows, I'm not a huge theater goer. I never wanted. I never really fell in love with musicals until I did pantomime, and it kind of made me go, wow, if this is this fun, like musicals and hard, musicals are fucking ridiculous. You know, there's so much more into it. And the last time I was probably left like speechless, like when I left, was I went to watch Tina the musical with the original cast. You know, the original cast, but in London. And I can't remember the woman's name. It begins with A. And I remember watching her, and that I was like, you know, you get that kind of feeling where you're so overwhelmed, you want to cry. Like I was in
Mhm.
the theater with my mum and literally we were clapping at the end and I felt like I could have cried because I was so overwhelmed. But like I can't recall many times where I felt that way in theater. But again, I'm not a huge theater lover. So I feel like to try and make me feel that way is actually keeping me engaged for the whole show is the challenge. Like I watched Mary
Yeah.
Poppins and I was like, this is a lot. Like this is long. Like I wasn't in, you know, like I liked
Mhm.
it, but I wasn't in. Like if
Mhm.
someone had said you've got to go outside and take a phone call, I wouldn't be heartbroken. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
one of those. But yeah, I guess I
Yeah.
kind of feel like I know what you're saying, or I can pick apart like when I watch a show things that I didn't like or things that I
Yeah.
thought weren't as good as I could be. Like you know, sometimes I'll watch the on and it's always dance for me that I pick apart because I understand it, you know, the scheme very well. Like
Yeah.
I would say I'm close to being a master at what I do is dance, you know, and I know you like that word mastery instead of perfection. You said that at
Mhm.
Encore and it really stuck with me. But like I watch it and I'll be like, oh, that was disappointing. Considering you do
Yeah.
this 10 times a week, I thought you'd be better at it. Like, you know, a lot of times I get that feeling.
Yeah, and this is why when I don't think there's anything wrong with being proud of, the external achievements, and because I also think that dancers don't applaud themselves enough. So we
Mm,
discount everything that's good and then we concentrate on everything that's bad. We don't know how to take a compliment, but we take all the criticism. I'm like, guys, do you not see the complete imbalance here?
yeah.
So we think about the lack of our resume, but then when we get something, when we actually book a job, we have all the excuses as to why it's not good enough. Well, so and so did this last year, or I'm not young enough, or like I should have done this 5 years ago, or it's on like we just justifications. And so I do think it's healthy to celebrate everything that you've done, but at the same time, those things are not I don't believe that those are the things that make you feel good. I think like listening to you, I think what makes you feel so good about yourself in a lot of ways is the fact that you were told you were one thing and then went, no, I'm not.
Mm,
I'm going to show you that I can do everything that you think that I can't. So
mm.
all the gratification came from you putting in the work to become the person to get the jobs. I think the jobs were fun,
And
and I think but the
yeah,
cherry on top, you know?
yeah. But it wasn't the that wasn't the cake. That wasn't that wasn't the victory.
No, the victory was
Over
getting the six pack, then
oh,
keeping the six pack, or like whatever.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I
It
mean?
was overcoming the obstacles.
Yes. Yeah. And so when I watch people, and this is what I champion so much, I'm like, yes, don't chase perfection, chase mastery, but also don't chase mediocrity. Don't don't be satisfied with just being good enough to get the jobs.
Mm,
Be if this is what you want to do, you have to be obsessed with the journey. You have to be like just totally immersed in the day to day. That's the
mm.
success.
The hard thing is, so I believe if you can become great at something, you can become great at anything. As long as
Mm.
you apply the same intention or the same effort. So if I
Mhm.
applied into being not anything, obviously within limitations, I'm never going to be a basketballer. I'm 5'8". But like if I wanted to be a fireman and I put the same amount of effort into being a fireman as I did being a dancer, like I'd be a fireman.
Mhm.
The only
Mhm.
thing is the time where I got to put all my effort into being a dancer was from the age of 14 to 20, where I had zero commitments, zero distractions, zero other obligations. Whereas now at 31, I have a mortgage, a car payment, a fiance, a puppy. So I can't put all my eggs into a basket because I have other baskets that I have to keep full, you know?
Mhm.
So that's the only thing with like when we're striving for mastery striving for mastery is fantastic, but depending where you are in your life, I do think plays a huge factor on what you can do. Because right now I want to strive for mastery in doing podcasts, you know, but i
Mhm.
can't i can't be here every day, like,
Mhm.
because who's going to look after my dog, who's going to spend time with my fiance, who's going to go and earn money to pay for my mortgage, you know, like all these things are counted. Whereas me at 18 just had to make sure I didn't die. Like
Mhm.
didn't matter
Mhm.
about food. I didn't care about food. I lived on Weetabix. Like,
Yeah.
you know. So
And
I feel
noodles.
like yeah, oh, not noodles, it was just Weetabix and pound sausage rolls, but like really healthy, hence the fat ginger kid. um but like, do you know what I mean? I feel like now chasing mastery as an adult is so much more challenging than it was as a teen or a young adult.
Yes, I agree. So then now what if you said, okay, so it's not, I don't have quantity of time, but what I do have is the maturity to understand the power of consistency.
Yes. Nice.
So maybe you can't be there every day, but you can consistently be there every week. I don't know if quantity is great, but I feel like quantity is the consolation prize that we get when we don't have the maturity to apply consistency.
Mm.
We are given the gift of quantity of time
Mm-hmm.
because we aren't mentally mature enough to understand how to apply ourselves. So instead, the world goes, okay, well, you don't know how to fight for the consistency. You don't understand the importance of that yet, but we're going to give you all the time for you to practice, play, fuck up, learn, grow. And then by the time you're mature enough to choose, you will fight for that consistency. You might not have quantity, but you will have more quality, I think.
No, for sure. Because I guess now the choosing of what I put that time into is much more selective, and whereas before you had time, so you're like, I'm just gonna do everything. Like why not? If just try everything. Whereas now it's like, oh, well, this is more calculated approach.
And I think we can apply that to our relationships too.
Mm.
How we were speaking before about the whole Michael Jordan aspect of team and mate and who we spend our time with and how we spend our time. So you might not be able to see your family every single week, but the times that you spend with them, because you're more consistently showing up for yourself and what you want to do, you can be more present. Whereas if you were there every week, you'd be thinking about all the other things you want to do. I'd rather spend less time and really enjoy being with those people than spend more time with them
and be
stressed
bored
about all the other things. Yeah, and be bored.
and be
exactly.
bored.
Exactly.
Because only boring people get fucking bored.
That needs to be a shirt.
Yeah, I've just made new merch.
Sick.
So, and it made me think about, I listened to your podcast last night about you not wanting to demonstrate your class combo.
Oh God.
Because you would feel like you're showing off, and you don't want to feel like you're showing off, and subconsciously that's what you thought, and you hadn't unpacked it until your friend. I don't want to give it all away, so everyone go and listen, because it's a very, very interesting episode, and it made me think about myself a lot. But it's really interesting. So I've just made jumpers, and I was teaching the other week, and on the wall it says, "Dance like no one's watching," and I was like, that's the shittest quote of all time. Dance like no one's watching. What, with no effort, no nothing, just flop my way through it with no like care. Like, I was like, no, dance like everyone's fucking watching. Like, so I've got hoodies saying "dance like everyone's fucking watching" on the back. Like,
that's brilliant.
Because I was just like, no, bitch, that's what we want, right? Like, as much as, and I know it sounds very superficial, but look, none of us are trying to become a performer without having people watching, because otherwise you're not a performer. Because who are you performing to? Right? Like, so and it made me interesting, because listening to your podcast last night, saying like, you didn't want to show off your class combo, and you didn't want to make it about you. It doesn't necessarily have to be about you, but you still have to do it, because otherwise how are people going to want to come and learn from you? Like,
no,
absolutely. It was like, it just had me thinking about it all yesterday, and I was like, yo, this is so funny. And I just made those jumpers saying it.
Yeah, I know, it's brilliant. And it's a shame, because I feel like, I don't know if this is something that more girls experience or women experience more than men. I don't know. That'd be interesting to see. But there's such a fear amongst women of the "who does she think she is" judgment. And I think have you ever read any of Mark Manson's books?
One.
Was it the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck?
Yes.
The sequel is really good.
Yeah.
I haven't done the sequel. I've done the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. By read it, I mean audiobooked it. But Yes, I have.
Right. Yes. And then so I missed what he said, but there was
He
another
said-
book called
Jake said the sequel.
Everything is Fucked. That one? Is that the
Oh,
sequel?
I think I might have listened to that one as well, but I've definitely done.
I'm reading that one at the moment. It's
Oh,
it's much
mate.
better. It's a really, really good book. I'm learning a lot from it for sure.
Jake, you can read.
I can read
Wow.
just about like a page a day, max.
Even with those little tiny eyes.
Shut up.
It's so good. It's so good. Okay, so Jake, I don't want to ruin. I don't know if you're at this part, but there's this part. Can I speak about it or not?
Yeah, ruin it.
Yeah, go deep.
Ruin it. There's a part in the book where he explains what it is to be an adult. And I'm just like obsessed with this idea that he's planted in my head in regards to children equal pleasure. So as kids, we're always seeking pleasure, like we want to play at the playground. We want to, eat ice cream. We want to make a mess, whatever. And then what happens is as we grow into adolescence is adolescence equals consequences equals pleasure. So we start to learn rules about life, so like as a kid, if you eat ice cream without asking mom before dinner, you learn that that's bad, and stuff like that. So as you become a teenager, you start to learn how to manipulate. And you go, if I do my homework, my mom will let me drive her car. If I do my chores, I can go to this party. So nothing is done for just purely because it's the right thing to do. It's done so you can get to the pleasure.
Yeah.
Sure. So
that makes sense?
It's a trade-off.
Yeah, exactly. And then he says, so what's being adult? What's being an adult? And it just says adult equals consequences. And I was like, fuck, that is epic. And basically he says, he's like, I can't wait for you to read this part of the book if you haven't already. He goes, adults tell the truth, not because they're going to benefit from it, because usually you won't necessarily if you're, especially if it's tough. You tell the truth because it's the right thing to do. And I read that and I'm like, I'm never lying ever again. I don't care how tiny, and how much easier my life would be if I'm just going to tell the truth all the time. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I think the reason why a lot of people, maybe more so women, I don't know, feel the fear of the who does she think she is because if you think about teenagers, and I have to really think about this when I teach teenagers more than inside out things when I teach adults, is their most important thing at that time is being accepted by their peers. Their friends are the most, people liking them is the most important thing. And it's crazy how, and I won't get too much into it, but how we have an ego and how the ego is born and how it's there to help us. But once we don't need it anymore as adults, we have the maturity to understand situations we didn't understand as kids. We can understand as adults why our parents got divorced and why it's not our fault. We can understand that your actions say more about you than they say about me. We understand these things, but no one then sits us down and goes, okay, let's unpack the ego because you don't actually need that anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I think that whole quote of, dance like nobody's watching is born from that fear of if I am my biggest, best self. It's the reason why I think sometimes women experience it more than men is because women still don't know how to always necessarily cheer each other on. We're so concerned about being liked instead of being respected. What would you rather have? Being liked is cheap. It is trendy. It is surface level. It is fake half the time. It's not substantial. Be respected. I would so much rather be respected, but fuck, it took me a long time to get there. I wanted to be liked my whole life.
I've spoke about this on here before. I think maybe I haven't, but I've definitely spoke about it before on a podcast. And that's with say you do an Instagram post or whatever. And I can have, say, 50 students comment on it saying flame emoji. And it's cool. But when John Graham messages me saying good job, that means so much more. Because to me, that's not a trend. That's not a like. That's a showing of respect. Because in my eyes, you're above me. Do you know what I mean? Whereas everyone, not saying the students are below me, but they're learning from me. I'm further ahead than they are on the journey. So it's oh my God, I want to be like you. Whereas John doesn't want to be like me. He's ahead of me in his journey. To me, I idolize him. So for him to say good job, to me, that's a sign of respect.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like to show the
Yes.
difference of the two. And that to me is worth 1,000 people saying they like it who aren't above me
Yeah.
or further ahead in their career of me, you know?
Yeah. 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. It's brilliant.
It's how it kind of carries over into my world.
Yeah.
What do you struggle with on a day-to-day basis, like as a artist, as a creative? Like, what's the hardest part of being you as a creative?
It's a great question. I think,
Because we can always say like all the good things, you know, like
yeah.
that's easy. We show that off to the world. So people say on Instagram, we tell everyone all the good shit. Like, what's your hard shit?
Yeah, I know. I was just gonna say, what's good? Look at the Instagram feed.
Yeah.
What's not as good? I think for me it's, I'm trying to speak concisely, and that usually, I mean, you've listened to my podcast, so you know that the gold comes from 30 minutes of ranting, and then there's like
That
one
pinnacle
sentence
moment.
that's epic. That state of flow that you're always finding, right? I think it's just still believing in the unknown, daring to want more, fighting against what I've been taught, the constant unlearning, the showing up and doing the work. I think when I reflect, like in that last episode that you said you listened to, I think I was taught that my sheer genuine, yet so genuine, somewhat naive belief in that anything's possible it was laughed at. And I think every day I have to spend time on believing that that's a gift and not a, what's the opposite? What's that word I'm looking for?
Just not a negative, I guess.
Yeah. And I made a choice, kind of like I said at the beginning. I could have had a career of being, a rockette or a showgirl or in Moulin Rouge in Paris, or, I mean, I can't cartwheel, so I would have had to learn how to do that. I can cartwheel on the left,
So
not the right. It's not a useful side.
It's a long way down as well if you fall.
Mate, it's like people roll, stand up, and start turning, and I'm like, I'm still bending my knees, guys.
For people who don't know, Christie's quite tall.
I still haven't hit the floor yet. But yeah, I think it's building something other than what the world has told me that I am. I think it's very similar to what, kind of similar to what you've been taught as well. People, put you in a corner and say this is what you can do, and I think I'm just going to spend my whole life going, no, I can do more than that. I can do so much more than that. I think the other struggle is actually choosing as well. People always ask me, there's so many entrepreneurs that I listen to that are like, do one thing. Like Tom Bilyeu will say, pick one thing and fucking master it, and I'm like, I can't choose one.
No, me either. That's not how my brain works whatsoever.
No, me neither. No,
like
not even close.
My fiance said to me probably a month ago, like, Kane, what do you want to do? You can't do everything. And I was like, watch me. Like, do you know what I mean? I was like, I've got a program in Swindon. I teach at 2 colleges. I teach at a dance school. I've got a podcast. I want to do another program somewhere else. She's like, chill out. I was like, I want to run in a competition. She's like, you can't do all this stuff. I'm like, yes, I can. Like,
yeah.
But
yeah.
I think it's so much better to be the top 5% of 6 things than the top 0.01% of one. It's so much more interesting that way.
Let's go, Jake.
Do you know what I mean?
That was dope.
I'm the exact same. I'd much rather be good at a lot of things and then expand those skills and use them in lots of different categories, because it makes my life interesting. And going back to the idea of what success is, my idea of success is to die never having regretted. So that really kind of fits into that role by being good at lots of stuff.
If only everyone could see you right now. You should have had a camera. You should have stepped into the limelight.
Just that one sentence.
You should have.
It's quite a walk, but
especially for my short legs.
Yeah. No, that's dope. Yeah, I'm with you. Like,
I love that.
because actually, if you think about like I don't know about you guys, but a week in the life of Kane every day is so different. That's
Mm,
what makes it fun.
exactly. Like I can do one thing every single day.
Like even the fact that my schedule is almost the same week to week sometimes gets me like, if I'm 5 weeks and there's been not a spanner in the works, I'm like, come on, bitch, like give me something to do. Like give me a workshop, give me a job, give me a casting, give me an obstacle. If it's just like plain sailing. That's why I never wanted to do musicals, because I was like the same thing every day for a year. And like even cruise ships, I was like being on the same boat every day. And everyone like, yeah, you get to go to nice countries. And I go, yeah. And then I get on the same boat. Like
Mm-hmm.
my brain needs
Mm-hmm.
variety. So Jake, that was a fantastic point made.
Come in.
Christy, do
Yeah.
you feel like you have variety in your life?
Oh, massively, massively. But the struggle is not doing the things that come easy to me as a form of procrastination from doing the things that I really want to do. I always say that, because I have House of Jazz and Inside Out, and even working on Jazz House Theater and Uncork Theater and like the creative side of stuff, it's so much easier. My biggest form of resistance is not doing the work; it's doing the wrong work. I could sit and write emails all day and build House of Jazz. House of Jazz could easily be the only thing that I do. Easily. And it comes so easy to me. And I have so many fucking ideas. And it could just grow and grow and grow. And it will, but that would be failure because then I never acted. You know what I'm saying? And so that for me, it's I think my biggest struggle is not letting myself be beaten by resistance by doing the wrong work every day, because I have so much choice, because I've built so many platforms. And what's wonderful is I feel like I've exploded and vomited out, it's not really nice, my soul. Like I'm done now. Like there's not another company that needs to be built. My entire foundation, and that's how I feel so rich. I'm like, I have 6 houses. I have 6 houses because you split Christie into actor and dancer as well, I have 6 companies. It doesn't need to be anymore. Like my entire being has been, turned inside out and be made into art. Like my life is so cool. Who can say that? That's epic. But I have to know that I have to clean 6 houses, and I have to paint 6 houses, and I have to vacuum 6 houses, and I have to spend time and meditating
Pay
each
for those
house.
6
And I have to
houses.
pay for the rent and the mortgage. And so, yeah, my challenge for till the end of time now is going, Christie, everything that you've needed to get out, you've gotten out. Like when we put on Welcome to the Grand for the first time, which was Jazz House Theater's first production, the show needs so much work, and it'll get there. But I remember sitting in the change room with James after opening night, and I was like, I feel like I've lost 200 pounds. Like, did we do it in the right way? No, we made so many mistakes, but we made our mistakes. We had to make the mistakes. We didn't make other people's mistakes. You have to make your own mistakes. That is so important in life. Make your own fucking mistakes. So important. But now that all those the groundwork has been laid, the houses have been built, it's the upkeep, and it's not just staying in the cozy, comfortable one.
For sure. Do you, when you're trying to achieve, do you set a reason as why you're trying to achieve? Like, or do you use, because you always talk about external in, like how you don't want to be external in and you want to be inside out. Like for me, like I always had the goal that I wanted to own a property by the age of 30. So like I ended up kind of changing my career path so I could make that come true, but still stay within performing. So I went on tour with Dream Boys. And then now it's like, I want to buy a two, I'm coming back. I want to buy like a 2 or 3 bedroom property, like a house, because I owned a 1-bedroom flat. So now I want to have a house with a garage so I can make a podcast / dance studio in my garage. And I want to buy a new car. So a lot of my things now that I do to still fulfill my creative side, but also try and fulfill that side. So like I'll take different choices. So financially I gain and I creatively and mentally gain. Does your brain work the same way? Do you ever think about like, I want to buy this, or I want to get these nice shoes, or I want to do these nice things? Because we're in such a materialistic world. And like Jake said to me the other week, he's like, you're flashy, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, I like nice things. Like, and it's not to like nice things for other people to say I have nice things. It's so I can look at my nice things and go, I have nice things.
Yeah.
Do you have that at all? Because I know a lot of like creatives don't necessarily have those things. You know what I mean? But then I feel like a lot of commercial dancers, or the show busy side, they do have those things because they want to be flashy and show off. Like, where do you kind of fall on that?
Oh man, there's 3 ways I could go about this question. I'm going to do the first 2 because they're short, and then I'll do the last one because it's been longer. But when it comes to two of them kind of go together. I think is it Mark Manson again, or is it Simon Sinek? Do you know who Simon Sinek is? He's
Not
another he's another entrepreneur podcaster. He's epic. And he speaks about how, but I do think this is a Mark Manson thing too, about like, what are you willing to fail at, kind of, and what are you willing to sacrifice in regards to you know, what you want, but what you're willing to give up to get there. You know, so I love that you wanted all these things, but there was only certain ways you would go about getting those things.
Yeah, like there's no way I'm gonna go and get a normal job and earn 4 times more money to make that happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's brilliant. And I think one of the ways, you love my trilogies, so here's another trilogy that is not mine, but I do pass it on. When you accept work, I always say you have to have at least 2 out of the 3 P's. And the 3 P's are project, people, and pay. So because if you take a job for just the pay and you hate the project and you hate the people, man, that paycheck is never enough.
That was me 2 months ago. Like, every time I spoke to Jake, I took on a kind of a new job, and I was literally like, I hate it. Every single day I'd message him and he's like, stop it then. And I was like, I will. Just not yet. And I did. I stopped it. I was like, the money isn't worth
never is, isn't it?
No.
Yeah, no, it never is. And then, so that brings me to another guy. I think you would really like this if you haven't heard it already. His name is Ramit Sethi, and he wrote a book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And I'm obsessed with this book right now because I know nothing about finance, and I'm learning about stocks and bonds and investing. And I just think it's so rad. It's so good. And it makes it so simple. And he's so brash too. Like, he's so blunt. Like, he'll just call people idiots. And it's very Mark Manson kind of style of writing. I love when I read a book and I feel like I'm getting bitch slapped across the face. I just love, I'm like, give me more. It's great.
Yeah. I've got to ask, what book is that? Sorry. I'm just going to put that in my notes quickly.
Yes. I Will Teach You to Be Rich.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Ramit Sethi. And he says, pick again, I think it's 3. The world loves a trilogy. Pick the 3 things that you want to invest spending your money in the most, and never feel guilty about spending your money on those things. So, you know, you set up your bank accounts, and you set up, not to get, you know, all financial advisor on you now, but you set all that up the way you want to. But then the way to live a rich life, he says, is to know the things that you want to spend money on, and spend money on those things guilt-free. Nice. So my 3 things, right? And it just makes so much sense. So my 3 things are definitely travel. You can't, you know, experiences is just the way to live. Education. I will always invest in learning because again, I think that's invaluable. And honestly, food, because I've become increasingly so, like, you know, invested in my health. I remember I made a joke as a poor dancer, you know, that when I moved to London, I was like, I know I'll have made it when I can shop at Whole Foods all the time.
Hey.
Right? That's, you know, and I remember
it's a fair comment.
Yeah. And I was like, I love fruit, man. Like, people always joke like, oh, the vegan loves fruit, but I've never, vegan or not, I've always loved fruit. And I just remember feeling so guilty if I wanted to spend like £2.50 or £3 on a box of blueberries because it was this big. And now I'm like, I don't feel guilty at all, because I'm like, I'm not buying clothes. I'm not buying, but these are the 3 things I will spend money on and not have any guilt. And so that's how I kind of set up those external things. If you're talking creative, do I have I can't remember what word you used, but what I heard was, do you have a why?
Yeah.
For everything that you do? And yeah, I think I definitely have a why, and the why is what, you know, keeps me going and keeps me from not ever quitting and giving up. It's the driving force behind everything that you do.
So what is your why?
My why for, I think, everything other than education, I would say, but they probably all kind of go together too. I might have two. But I think my why is to, I want to unnumb people. I want people to believe in people again. I want people to believe in art again. I want people to feel shit again. And I want people to not be afraid to feel everything. We're living in a world now where we just numb any negative feeling. And I want people to not be afraid to feel pain, to feel sadness, to feel anger, to feel complete joy, because you can't just numb the negative feelings and
But
not numb the positive.
At the same time, I also feel like the world we're in now also highlight all of those things. Like they try and not seek pain, but they try and, you know, we're in a cancel culture. Everyone's so woke that we're not allowed to have anything negative. If you do, we make a negative of it and we call it out, or like we highlight all these things. And I'm like, you're saturating those feelings. Like just let them be. Like, you know what I mean? Like let it be organic. Let someone fail.
Oh yeah, the pendulum. Yes.
It's like
swung so far the other side. Yeah. It's like, so, and this is
let us have mistakes. Let us be able to survive from mistakes. Let us be able to have the comeback. Let us be able to fuck up. Let us be able to succeed. Let us be able to be sad. Let us be able to have fun. Like, let us be able to feel every emotion. But I feel like we're in a world where like, you're not allowed to have any emotion without there being a consequence of someone who feels the other way being offended. And that's my, like, for me, that's the one thing as an adult where I'm like, wow, this is terrifying, because like I'm not even allowed to make a mistake anymore and learn from it, because if I make the mistake, I'll get cancelled, or you'll get called out, or you'll be, you know, so you're not allowed to actually have a life.
Good.
You're not allowed to have a life lesson anymore. You're not allowed to make mistakes. But then how do we learn?
Yeah.
Because no one's written a book going, this is what you do. Well, there's the Bible, but but I've definitely not read that one, like, or audiobooked it or anything other. But like, you know, so I just feel like we're in a place where it's like, you're not allowed to learn.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And maybe that's God, maybe that's part of what it is too. I think if I had to put it in one sentence, and listening to you speak really helped, I think it's, I want everyone to feel like they have full permission to be fully alive.
Yeah. Without a consequence.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to do that. I want to do that. It is all the same thing. I want to do that through education. I want to do that through art. I want to do that through performance. I want to remind people what it is to feel alive.
That's dope. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks. What's your why?
My why, again, always changes, but like now I always think to myself, if I was a multi-millionaire, what would I change in my life? Would I still do the same shit every day? Cool. And most of the stuff that I do on a weekly basis, I would still do. And like a lot of people go, what? And I'm like, I would still teach on a Sunday. I would still teach on a Monday. I would still teach on a Friday. And I would still come here and do this on a Tuesday. I would like, there's a few things I would change. You know, I'd drive here in a Tesla or a Porsche instead of a Volkswagen, but I would still come here. You know what I mean? Like I just think my why is like, just make sure you're trying to do shit that you're going to be happy with on a day-to-day basis. I listen to, so random. I listen to this thing called Fight Companion, where they watch UFC fighters and there's 4 comedians and they chat shit. Brendan Schaub, my spirit animal, he hosts it. And one of the guys on there was talking about how he tries to optimize in his life. And he's the host from Relentlessness. He's an ex-skateboarder, Rob D something. And he said he writes every day, and he's done it for like 7 years or something. He rates his day out of 10 every day. So if his day is below like a 7, he has to make a change. And I was like, wow, like imagine just go every day, go, what was my day today out of 10? A 5. Why? You need to figure out that why. And then if the next day is a 5 again or a 5 again, then you truly fucked it. You need to make some real life choices. And he said he's had 11 bad days this year. Like what he, on his scale of 1 to 10, what he counts as 11. And he's like, because when I get bad days, I acknowledge why it's a bad day and I don't let it be a bad day again. And I'm like, imagine we just did that. Imagine like and essentially it's quite simple. And I know some things happen like out of your control. Like if you get a flat tire, that can give you a bad day. But also you can control your emotion within it. But I get it. It's still going to fuck you off, especially if you're broke and you can't afford a new tire or you miss something. But like if your day is just a general day and it's a bad day, you're doing something wrong. You need to make some changes, you know? So my why is to try and avoid me wishing I was doing something different. Like, so whatever that day may be, like when I go to bed, am I satisfied with it? It could have been better. Like, you know, I always think of what could be better. I always go, I could have done this better. But did I enjoy and I hate the purpose of the day. I know you hate that word, but like, did I enjoy that day? Like if I didn't enjoy driving an hour here to come and do this with Jake and then an hour back, I wouldn't do it. But I love it. I would drive 4 hours to do it. You know, like, so for me, that's my why now as a 31-year-old, because it has changed. Before it was to overcome the obstacles and to prove other people wrong without even knowing it. But now my why is to go, do I love day-to-day life? Yeah, I do.
That's brilliant.
It's pretty fucking awesome. I left the house at 5:20 yesterday a.m. and I taught 6 classes and I got home at 8 p.m. absolutely exhausted. Wouldn't have changed it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how I see it. That's my why. Just
and
to
that's
enjoy
success.
Every day. Yeah,
I think.
Oh, definitely. You know, like, would I like that?
I might steal that.
Would I like that journey to be a bit shorter? Yeah, sure. Would I like to get paid a bit more? Yeah, sure. But do I hate it? No. Do I like it? Yeah. Like, that's pretty
awesome.
dope.
Yeah. Do you believe that people, I don't know if we have time for more questions, but do you believe people have a purpose? Like, what do you think about that word?
I don't believe people have a purpose. I like, you know, when people go, everything happens for a reason. Like, to me, that's the most bullshit thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, no, everything happens because you either reacted or you didn't. Like, my friend Simon Bailey, he was a singer once upon a time, and my tour manager, he said, the chances you take are the chances you make, or some shit like that. Like, it was something where it's like everything you do has an outcome, and every outcome is because you made a choice and you took a chance. Oh, do you know what I mean? And like, there's something about that where you're like, yeah, that's so true. Because if we didn't, you know, if I didn't choose to move to LA, would I be who I am now? I could have stayed in the UK and just kept working and booking loads of jobs. Might have I had a more successful career? Yes. But hey, like, you know, it's the chances I took which made me the person I am now. I don't believe there was a purpose behind them. I don't believe anything was meant to happen. But I feel like we react and we respond to things, and that creates our outcome. Like if there's a fire by here and there's a door there and a door there, like you didn't purposely choose a door, you just reacted and chose a door. And then the next obstacle, you'll have another obstacle and you'll react to that. Like, I just think that's life. But I feel like people use the fact of there's a purpose or everything happens for a reason as an scapegoat. I think they go, something really fucking shit happened to me, but it's okay because everything happens for a purpose. Or you made a bad decision, or you didn't invest enough into it, or you're just shit at that thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's a way of removing accountability.
Bingo.
Like,
I think that's my problem with it too.
That's what I think. I think when someone goes like, it's the same as like, again, I'm not religious at all.
Say, you're going to touch on religion soon, aren't you?
Yeah, but like, I'm not religious at all. But it's, you know, when people go, oh, I'm a changed person, I found God. I'm like, no, bitch, you just chose to change but like you're giving the credit to something else, and that's fine. But just know that you've made this choice. Like use it as a positive for you. You don't need an external thing to go, oh, I'm a better person now because I heard something from God. No, you woke the fuck up and you chose to be a better person. You know, like, or if like terrorism, like, oh, God said we have to do this awful thing. No, you're just a fucking douche and you chose to do this awful thing. Like, that's how I feel about everything. I just feel like we choose every second of every day what we're going to do and what we're going to say. And yes, sometimes they're mistakes. But again, now we're in a world where you're not allowed mistakes. So you're not allowed to learn. You're not allowed to grow. So no, that's what I think about the word purpose. I think it's stupid.
Yeah, agreed. I feel like accountability has been replaced with entitlement.
Because if I followed my purpose, I'd probably be a laborer. You know?
Yeah, like,
because I'm 5'8" and I can't straighten my legs and I'm not very elegant, but I'm really fucking good at carrying stuff. Like genetically, my body was made to move shit. Like, but I chose to dance. Everything my body doesn't want to be or do. Like, no, purpose is dumb.
Yeah, it's kind of it's fantasy almost. It's the same, not the same definition by any means, but to me, it's in the same family as perfectionism. Like I feel like it's a lie.
You're just telling yourself something to kind of pass the blame or pass the responsibility
and I don't think there's not enough accountability, and it's because I think we don't have enough because we can't make mistakes. We don't have enough I think platforms or education on self recovery. So I broke down Inside Out into like 3 steps, and because people always think that, you know, when you come to House of Jazz, I just hold your hand and tell you everything that you're feeling is okay, and a part of that is true, but you can't make somebody accountable before they recover their sense of self first. And self recovery is the part where you see an adult cry quite often all the tears that they couldn't cry as a kid. So, and kids don't know how to be accountable, but there's this period before you can make an adult accountable for their actions, where they need to feel unjustified, and they need to feel angry, and they need to feel bitter, and they need to feel mad at the world, and the fact that, you know, they need to be mad at their parents for teaching them that they weren't good enough, but then they also need to, you know, experience the guilt that they feel for getting mad at their parents. Like, there's so many things that happen in that self-recovery area, but then after you recover that sense of self, that's when you go, now you're ready to accept the maturity of understanding that you did all of that for a reason. You chose to believe all those things. You chose to behave in all those ways. You can't skip that step. And then what's beautiful is if you can actually get someone to be fully self accountable, and you can get them consistent on being accountable, that's when you get the golden ticket, which is self-reliability. I can fully rely on myself to show up. I can fully rely on myself to not lie, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. It's like, you know, just like with accountability, like the simple things in like if you just take it down and you get good at it on such a basic level, then when you can achieve it on a basic level, then you can achieve it in anywhere. Like even things like people being late, you know, like I hate people who are late, even though I was late today, and I'll take responsibility for it. It's because I was very optimistic and I thought I could do a million things this morning and I couldn't. Do you know what I mean? Like that's on me. I tackled too many obstacles because I'm that person that thinks he can do everything, and I couldn't. I didn't have time to go for breakfast and drop Georgia off and wrap presents and like do all the shit. I should have just went for breakfast and came straight here. Like, but I was ambitious. But you know, when people are late and they're like, oh, I'm late because my train. Well, yeah, that's fine. But what if that was a flight to Spain?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't have missed that. Like, so even though it's just a rehearsal or just a dinner, like if it was a train, like 30 seconds late is gone. You've missed it. If it's a flight to go to Barbados that you spent thousands of pounds on, 30 seconds late is gone. You've missed it. But you choose to risk being late. on something which
Mhm.
might not seem as important to you. So for you to blame the train is a shit excuse, because if it was
Mhm.
the flight, motherfucker, you would have made it.
Mhm.
So take accountability that it's just not as important to you. Like,
Mhm.
but you've blamed the train.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, I'd leave on a
Yeah.
Monday at 5:20 a.m. to start teaching at 8:30. I get to my destination at 7 a.m.
Mhm.
I don't need to leave that early. But
Mhm.
if I leave at 6:30 and there's an accident, whose fault is it? The accidents are mine, because I know that there could possibly be an accident. Like, so I can't blame
Yeah.
something else. Like,
Yeah.
I'm making sure I'm accountable for whether I'm on time or late.
Yeah.
Like, and I just think if you can do that with the simplest things, then when you're doing it with like your purpose or why really good things or really shit things happen, then it's easier to take control of.
And I think that's why people like you and I hate being late, is because we know that it's our fault. And we're
Yeah.
not willing to let it be our fault. I'm not
No,
willing to mess up in that way at all.
not something that I can really take control of.
Yeah.
You know, so when it's harder stuff, how are you ever going to be accountable for harder stuff if you can't be accountable for easy stuff? When it's like
No.
really like life-changing decisions that don't go your way, how are you going to take responsibility for it if you can't do it for easy stuff?
Yeah, and this is why doing the work is so important. Whatever form of doing the work you're doing, because these people show up late for you and then they go on blaming it on the train. They're blaming it on the train because they're afraid of what you're going to think about them. So in that moment, they're trying to control you still liking them. They're trying to control how you feel about them. And their biggest fear is you thinking something bad about them.
Mm.
But if we did the work, and you and I both know how important it is to be on time, and I show up and I say, Kane, I'm late. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for wasting your time or whatever. And I acknowledge that, and that's it. If you continue to be, disappointed in the fact that I am late or whatever, I have to allow you the space to be pissed.
Yeah.
I have to respect that you're allowed to respond and feel how, instead of trying to control how you feel and then make it all about me in regards to, I know I fucked up, but please still like me. I'm going to give you all the excuses because the most important thing right now is that you still like me. No, it's not. The most important thing is that you own your mistakes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I think as humans, we're very quick to pass the blame and not take responsibility, like you said, because we're worried about, we make it a selfish thing. We make it about me. Like,
Very.
oh, well, now you don't like
Yeah.
me. Poor me. Like, you know what I mean? Well, yeah, you fucked up, idiot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like if like you hear it in the relationships, like if someone cheats on someone, the person who cheated will always somehow blame the person they cheated on. But you've been like this to me for so long. Like,
Yeah.
you've been nagging me. Like, yeah, but you still did the wrong thing. Like,
Yeah. You still made a choice, dude.
you still made a choice. Like, there's so many ways as humans where we just get this like shield and we go, no, it's your fault. Like, look in the mirror, blame you, even though I fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, we identify too much with this means this, which means I'm this, which means I'm this, which means I'm this. Like if I messed up, if I'm late, that means I'm unprofessional. If I'm unprofessional, I'm a failure. And I'm like, the onion just keeps getting put, and we just don't want to acknowledge that dungeon of crap that we've, picked up along the years. And so we don't know how to take responsibility for anything anymore. But again, if you enter that conversation and go, okay, what's more important to me, being liked or being respected? I'm going to go, Kane, I was late because I don't want to worry about you liking me. I would much rather you respect me for being able to own up to my mistakes.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to own up to a mistake, is I've kept you too long and you actually had a meeting 10 minutes ago.
Oh, dang. So then I will have somebody to apologize to.
Yeah. And blame me.
No, yes. It was not my fault. Yeah, you're right.
It was this ginger guy the other side of the world.
It's all good, man. It's all good. It all work out.
So I do apologize for keeping you. I literally just looked at my watch and I was like, wow, I was really into this, because I looked at it at 4 o'clock my time and I was like, oh, we've got ages.
Oh yeah.
Yes, 45 minutes later.
flew by. This was so much fun, Jake. It's so nice to meet you as well, man, on the other side.
I was very much enjoying that conversation. So thank you for that. Very inspiring woman.
Yeah, it's a very different one for us.
Yeah, it was super inspiring. And you've obviously done a lot of self-help books. Have you ever done, quickly, a life coaching course by any chance?
I haven't. I'm interested in doing one.
She
But
should.
I
She's
think
You
really good.
should. You hold very
I
much
need to find the
similar
right one.
characteristics. CTI.
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 Okay, I'll look into that.
Nice one. Yeah, you
Cool.
hold all the way you listen and the way you react is very life coachy, which made me think of it. But yeah, very
I
inspiring.
told you she was cool. When we
You're-
spoke at
yeah.
Encore, I literally, after Encore, I come back to Jake and I was like, we're getting this girl Christie on the show. She's really cool. Not only does her voice sound better than mine, she's really clever.
Oh my God, no. Well, I appreciate that, man, because I know like this is like people always make fun of me too. This is the type of conversations that I love. But people always joke that like you can't go to a birthday party with Christie without her asking you like, so what did you learn this year? And like shit, like I can't do small talk. I love.
fucking hate small talk.
Mm.
Oh, me too, man.
Unless
Me
it's about
too.
cars or shoes, go away.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, that's the only small talk I've got because I really care.
Yeah.
Like if someone goes, "Where are those shoes from?" I'm like, "Well,
Yes.
let me tell you."
Yes.
You know,
That's
if
brilliant.
they go, "Where's that jacket from?" I'm like, "Fuck off,
Yeah.
go away."
Just the shoes.
Yeah.
I'm learning all about Air Jordans, guys. Speaking of Jordan. Yeah. I learned how many are there? I know I'm already late for this meeting. 22? There's 22 different times pairs? I'm
I think
learning.
so. I don't know.
22,
Yeah,
right?
I'm going probably.
Yeah. Interesting. That's
I
maybe
own
the
a
next
lot of
one.
them, but oh,
Do
here you
you?
go. You can be involved then for my kicks of the day. So my kicks, I do this on the show. I do kicks of the day. They're a pair of Nike Dunks, and they've got Kane 5678.
Hold it in the center.
Oh, dope.
So I created them myself. I designed them. So it's obviously a silver tick for Kane. Silver. And I
Oh,
rewarded
nice.
myself because I choreographed a big advert, which we're not allowed to talk about because it's not out yet. And I
Cool.
treated myself with some new shoes because I'm a dog and I reward myself for doing good things.
There you go.
Yeah.
But hey, everyone has their three things, man,
Three
that
things.
they should be able to spend money on guilt-free anyway.
Shoes. Right. Thank you so
Shoes.
much. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, dude.
Virtual hug. Hopefully see you again in human life soon. I'll see you in February.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be
See you
so
in
much
February.
fun.
We're judging another
Cool, dude.
UDO comp, so that'd be fun. Peace out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Podcasting.
Peace out, A-Town.
Apologize for your next meeting.
I will take ownership.
All the love.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.